Hey guys, in this video I wanted to show you how I transformed Minecraft into a beautiful game, one that feels like it could have been released within the past year for higher-end hardware. These are all mods that I tested on Minecraft 1.12.2 using Java Edition, but I'm hoping that one day we see all of these updated to the latest version. The first mod I've installed is Better Foliage, which improves the appearance of trees and vegetation in your world. Leaves will lose a lot of their blocky appearance, as random leaves will stick out. They also fall from trees, creating some beautiful ambient effects and increases your immersion. Grass blocks will also have grass tufts coming out of them, making the ground more dense overall, like it's all covered in bone meal. Logs have had their edges chamfered, giving them a more rounded appearance, and not only makes trees in general look better, but are also great for your builds. Chunk Animator will change how chunks generate in your world. In vanilla Minecraft, chunks just pop in out of nowhere, which doesn't look so great. The Chunk Animator mod will change that, causing chunks to rise up from the ground, which looks much better and smoother. This is the default mode, which is 0. But there are 5 different modes you can choose from in the config files, and you can also change the duration of the animation. Dynamic Surroundings is one of my favorite mods, completely transforming your visual and audio experience. When it comes to visuals, you can now find aurora spawning in colder biomes during the night, which look great when looking up at the sky. There's also fireflies, which again adds ambience, and these tend to spawn near flowers and forests. Fire jets will spawn in lava pools, and the size of the jet shows how deep that area is. All the different sounds is where this mod excels, as each biome will now have its own unique sound effects. There are different footstep effects, which sound a lot more realistic than the vanilla ones. Biomes add some new fluid animations to multiple aspects of your game. For the player, you will find new sprinting, swimming, and jumping animations, as well as a few others which make your character move very differently to what you're normally used to. Some new animations are also applied to mobs. Spiders have more realistic legs, and are a lot more intimidating to look at as they also climb walls properly now. Zombies are less rigid, and move like actual zombies instead of humans with their hands up. A few other animations are introduced to wolves and skeletons too. Dynamic trees completely transform trees so they look more realistic and natural, while still respecting the style of Minecraft. Trees now have trunks, which range in thickness, becoming thinner the higher the tree goes with smaller branches extending out, which you can even climb. Trees no longer pop out of nowhere, as you can watch them slowly grow from saplings to complete maturity. Chopping a tree at its base will cause the entire thing to fall at once, similar to how they do in the Forest game, if you played that. Now, there are some compatibility issues with this mod, with the first one being that the rounded logs from the Better Foliage mod won't work on dynamic trees, only on individually placed logs. Fancy block particles will turn a lot of 2D particles into 3D ones instead. This will be most noticeable when breaking blocks, as it will explode into little pieces before despawning. Though the effects of this mod can be noticed in most places particles will spawn, such as fires, torches, and lava. Streams introduce some realistic flowing rivers which have true currents to your world. Rivers will now flow down slopes and waterfalls, following the terrain and helping to create some real-looking rivers, which not only increase the immersion of your world, but are great for exploring in boats. Stellar Sky replaces the vanilla sky, making it a lot more realistic. During the night, you'll be able to see the Milky Way galaxy and all its stars, even with the constellations. They twinkle too, and vary in size and brightness, making looking up during the night finally interesting. The moon and the sun will be revamped too, looking similar to how they do in real life. You can watch the moon move through the sky each night as it progresses through its phases. Biome Bundle Aplenty is what I'm using for terrain generation, and requires both Open Terrain Generator and Biomes Aplenty mods. When all these mods are used together, you'll see world generation like never before. There's steep cliffs, tall mountains, and dense forests, which all make use of some of the new blocks provided by Biomes of Plenty. Biome Bundle includes over 400 unique biomes, which make use of over 2,000 structures, including custom caves, trees, dungeons, and more. Again, there is a compatibility issue with dynamic trees. They still function together perfectly, but a lot of the trees provided with Biome Bundle don't turn into dynamic trees. However, any vanilla trees in your world will still be converted. Obviously, one of the biggest changes made to the game are with shaders. I'm using Sonic Ether's Unbelievable shaders, specifically the renewed version, which are free to use. I just love the difference in lighting, the rays from the sun, and how it looks during the rain. Though another shader that I tend to use are BSL shaders, which are also free. Using shaders can be demanding on your system, so they aren't recommended for everyone. There are plenty of resource packs which can further increase the immersion and realism of your world, although I really like how the default textures look. If you're like me, then you might want to take a look at the default 3D resource pack. It adds depth to a lot of blocks like rails, crafting tables, and bricks, adding lots of little extrusions and details. This resource pack is also free to download. I like to install some mods that add structures so that you're constantly finding something new in your world. Some of my favorite options are ruins, additional structures, and recurrent complex. You could choose to install all three or just one or two. But overall, you can expect to find hundreds of new buildings. There'll be temples, dungeons, and houses, as well as small objects like new trees and rocks, which just add a bit more variation. You're also going to want to install some mods which add new mobs, creatures, and animals to your world to really bring it to life. Again, I have a few personal favorites that I'm going to list out. Firstly, there's Mystical World, which adds the likes of owls, deers, beetles, and frogs, a few of which can be tamed. Familiar Fauna focuses more on passive animals like butterflies, dragonflies, snails, and turkeys, which can be found roaming in your world. If you want to replace the already existing animals, then Better Animal Models is a good choice, as it gives those mobs a more 3D appearance. Transforming below the surface is also a good idea. A good combination would be to install both Better Caves and Better Mineshafts. Better Caves will change the generation of caves, making them more like caverns and removing their thin tunnel-like design. Whereas the Better Mineshafts mod will add new variants of mineshafts, which are determined by the biome they spawn in. Mineshafts in general are also a bit larger and will have some extra rooms where you can collect loot. Another quick option is Quark, which not only affects caves, but it also adds some new mobs and other handy features. That's all the mods I have to show off. If you have any more mods that you think make Minecraft beautiful, then make sure you leave them in the comments below. I've covered a lot of other videos like this too, for both newer and older versions of Minecraft, which can be found on my channel.